Welcome, everybody, to 51%'s Institutional Crypto Research Podcast. Today in the podcast, I have a very special guest, Pascal Gauthier, president at Ledger. For those who are unaware, Ledger provides the popular hardware wallet Ledger Blue with various variations, and they provide Ledger Vault for institutional entities. Pascal, welcome to the podcast.
Hey everyone. Thank you for having me.
So Pascal, Ledger is one of the most popular hardware wallets. For those who are unaware, can you dive into the quick benefits of why you would use a cold storage wallet and any metrics you have on how many have been sold or the popularity so far?
Sure. So let me start with the metrics. So far, we sold over 1.4 million units of the Ledger Nano S, which is our most popular wallet. You mentioned the Blue before. The Blue is more the enterprise version of the wallet, and we use it to access the Ledger Vault, which is our enterprise solution. But to focus on the wallet, is 1.4 million units that we've sold everywhere in the world. The other metric that I have that is quite nice is that we shipped one wallet to 165 countries. So there was at least one wallet shipped to 165 countries in the world, which is a testimony to the global phenomenon that cryptocurrency is. And why should you have a hardware wallet, and why should you have a Ledger Nano S? Just because it's better security. We actually bring three things to the market. One is security, two is ease of use, and three is governance, and governance that we deliver first to the enterprise market. But security and ease of use are the heart of every product that we design. The hardware wallet technology is better known as the chip and pin technology. This is what you have on your credit cards. And this is what makes credit cards more secure. But the hardware and software mixed technologies have been used in the financial industry over the past 2 decades. It's something that the telecommunication industry, the financial industry have used, and we just applied that technology to cryptocurrencies, tokens, and everything where you need to hide your private keys. And so to this date, we believe it's a safer technology. And because it's a safer technology, you can build different applications on top of the operating system that we've designed, which is Bolos, that integrates into the hardware. And all these applications are segregated, so which is why through a hardware wallet today, you can use a lot of different type of cryptocurrencies because we support most of them, and which is something that actually comes from the technology itself. So security first, ease of use, which is using multiple cryptocurrencies and use them in an easy manner. So I think that's what we bring to the market.
Excellent. And I think most people are aware of using a Ledger wallet. I have one myself. It's not hard to use once you get it up and running. But I think one of the keys here that you guys are pushing and what we're most focused on is what you're doing for the institutions. So you guys rolled out Ledger Vault, I believe a few months ago. Could you, really dive into, what you guys are doing for the institutions and, how Ledger Vault plays into this?
Sure. So as we were selling the Nano S and the hardware wallet, we got asked several times about eventually an enterprise version of the Nano S. And this is really what pushed us to develop the Ledger Vault, which is a solution that we're selling to enterprises today. So it uses the same type of technology, and on top of security and ease of use of your cryptos, it brings governance on top. Because the problem that institutions have, and hedge funds and family offices, they have a lot of coins, but they need several people to access those coins. And when you do that, you need to understand who has accessed the coins and what type of access that they have, and what kind of transfer they can make, up to what amount, etc., etc. So the governance piece is really something that the Ledger Vault is bringing to the market, because we're going to help you do the administration of your fund, and then this is a system where you end up with multi-signature, time lock mechanisms, etc., etc. So the Ledger Vault is still a combination of hardware and software. You have HSMs at the heart. To sign on the HSMs, you have the Ledger Blue, and of course, you have an interface that you log onto in order to do your transactions.
Yeah. So the Ledger Vault itself, hedge funds, traditional, institutions, they don't need a hardware device to use Ledger Vault, correct?
So actually, they do. They need the ledger blue to sign the transactions, and so the ledger blue is signing the transaction on the HSM, and the link between the blue and the HSM is secure.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So, do you have any metrics? Do you think that the uptake of Ledger Vault is competitive in the marketplace? I know there's a lot of players in the space trying to roll out institutional custody offerings here. How have you guys been doing with Ledger Vault? How's interest been?
First, I wouldn't say that there is a lot. I think the market is so wide and it's so international that I don't know, top of my head, I would say that there are sort of 10 players in the game, if that. So I don't consider that 10 in a market such as this one is a lot. And the market also still needs to be formed. So there's definitely a lot of players that are coming in the market, but it's still not a lot. And sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I was just wondering, there's like a bunch of startups trying to provide custody for institutional entities in the crypto space. So, you have everybody from, you guys to Kingdom Trust, to BitGo, to Coinbase custody, to DACC and Gemini. I'm just wondering, how has Ledger been doing in this institutional custody market with Ledger Vault? I know you can't comment on your competitors, but any metrics on how competitive your offering might be in the space, just to size up the competitive landscape is helpful.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I think we have a different approach to the rest of the market. I think that first you need to distinguish between two things. One is self-custodianship on the one side and full custodianship on the other side. So many of the competitors that you just listed are offering full custodianship to the market. Typically, is the case of Coinbase. So if you work with Coinbase, you would trust them with your coins. Where the Ledger Vault offering is actually self-custodianship. So you don't have to trust Ledger with your coins. We're actually just providing you the technology so you can handle your coins yourself. So it's very similar to a bank that will go to like a bank that has gold and goes to someone that builds vaults. And so this is what we're doing. Like, we're giving you a vault so you can actually handle your coins on your own, and never Ledger will possess any keys. And so Ledger will never have access to your funds. It's also catastrophe proof in the sense that even if Ledger goes belly up, you don't need Ledger to actually run your funds, because you have your seeds and you can rebuild your vault with another service provider should anything happen to Ledger. So your funds will be stored on the blockchain, and Ledger gives you the tool to access those funds and to administrate those funds. Same thing that we do exactly with the Ledger Nano S and the hardware wallet product that we have. It's just that the hardware wallet product was designed for an individual use of coins, and the Ledger Vault is designed for several people using the same coins at the same time. And so that's one fundamental difference of what we offer. And then there is another difference, which is the type of technology that we use. I think that I believe that today in the market, we're probably the only company that is using this combination of hardware and software to bring security. And so what we have done is we have put our operating system that's called Bolos onto HSMs, and we run security like that. That's very unique in the market. Other players might claim that they use HSM technology, but they don't have a secure operating system that runs on those HSMs. So I think in terms of top-notch technology, Ledger has in the market today the best technology that is available using this unique set of tech. Most of the players actually use only software, which we don't believe is secure enough to secure crypto money. One comment that is, crypto assets are great. We believe that it's an amazing technological revolution, but in terms of being very easy to steal, also they're great. It's the asset that is the most easy to steal. And so therefore, having great technology to protect those assets, we think is paramount for the industry to thrive.
That makes a lot of sense. And, just going into Vault, how easy is it for, say a manager to authorize somebody else access to, buy and sell within the Vault or transfer assets? how's the UX, how's the UI? Are there any features that funds want to see you guys roll out that you don't have, or anything like that?
Well, we made it very easy. It's a very simple solution to use. We actually have a whole team now that is pitching it in the market, and that you can have an easy access to have a demonstration on how the vault works. But it is we've designed it to be extremely easy. So you just press on buttons and the transaction happens. So it's as easy to use the vault than it is to use your Ledger Nano S or Ledger Blue. So we've been hiding the complexity of security and the complexity of what we do behind very simple interfaces for the end user to use. The setup is actually very easy too. Goes very fast, so it's an easy product to use, and that's what we do at Ledger. We want security, but of course it has to be easy to use. Otherwise, crypto will remain very hard to become mass market.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And we put out one of the first research reports we did was a custody deep dive, and you guys are at the center of that, along with Gemini and Coinbase. And basically what we found is that Ledger Vault charges basically 0.5% annually for their custody services at the time that we published the report a few weeks ago. And Gemini and Coinbase were much higher, near 1% for Gemini and over 1% for Coinbase custody. I'm just wondering, are you guys getting any pushback on these fees being above traditional custody services, which are cost very low amounts of money annually, or is this, a competitively priced product?
No, I think the price is right. I mean, in the sense that if you compare custody of crypto assets to custody of, dollars, for example, you shouldn't be able to compare that again by the nature of the asset itself. If you think about crypto, it is very easy to steal. It is very hard to steal a lot of dollars at scale from a bank, mainly because the system is so inefficient that you wouldn't know where to steal and how to transfer, etc. And most of the process of transferring a large amount of dollars from one bank to another is still very manual. So it's almost impossible to steal large amounts of fiat currencies to banks. Actually, the best way to steal large amounts of gold or oil or currencies is to invade a country. So you need an army, you invade a country, and then that's how you do it at scale. With cryptocurrencies, it's much easier. Sort of every week you have the new hack of the exchange that got stolen, tens of millions of dollars. And so it shows that the asset is very different. That's what makes it great, but also that's why it's very hard to secure. So we believe that custodianship of these assets needs to be the cost of custodianship of this asset has to be a fair representation of how difficult it is to protect those assets. It's only a private key to steal. So, and once you have access to the private key, you have access to all the funds that sit behind. So we believe that custodianship has a cost today. Coinbase, BitGo, the rest are in the market, and we all have similar prices in the end. And that's what it costs. And actually, if you look at gold custodianship is not that cheap even today. Because it's quite expensive to keep gold. So if you want to, if you have lots of gold, then you need to find a custodian. What we found in the market is you still pay something like that is around 20 basis points. So anything that is 40, 48, 60, whatever, 100. We believe is a fair price given the market that we are in today. And today it's only a small amount of money. I mean, if you take all cryptos together, we're talking 300 billions. If you think about cash custodianship, all cash is 90 trillion of value. So the day that crypto will be at 90 trillion of value, okay, maybe the cost of custodianship will be lower, but then the value will be so much greater that the absolute value of what you're getting from the market in terms of custodianship will still be very high. So we still feel that there is the price is right and the market will grow enormously in the future. So eventually putting pressure on prices, but that's okay because the market value will be so much greater.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And just switching gears from the institutional to the retail side, It's always an interesting question of, whether to use Ledger or whether to use, something like Coinbase. How do you guys argue with people that use, easy, like exchanges like Coinbase, where they can just download an app and purchase, and there's never been any hacks there, and they have Coinbase Vault to protect it? I mean, is there always that risk that the funds could still be stolen even on Coinbase in their vault? Or, how do you guys differentiate from those types of services like Coinbase?
Even from an end user perspective or from an enterprise perspective?
Honestly, both would be great if we can go into.
Yeah, sure. I mean, security is security. So I don't think anyone can claim that there's never been a hack of any sort, etc. It's always the cat and a mouse type of game. So you always have to stay ahead. I think that Coinbase is offering a very, very different service from what Ledger is offering. So number one, whether you're a user or an enterprise, Coinbase is offering a great service where they will take care of your coins for you, which is very different from the Ledger philosophical approach, where you take care of your own coins and we just provide you technology so you can do it in a safe way and in an easy way. So I would say that in reality, the services that are offered by Coinbase and Ledger are quite complementary, or in the end come from a philosophical angle that is completely different. So I prefer personally to have my own coins and to keep my own private keys, and so they're my property. If I trust my private keys to a third party, then they become that third party property, and eventually they'll give them back to me at one point, but you never know. And so I think in this way the Coinbase model differentiates a lot from our model. Now, that being said, for the enterprise solution, of course, we have the Ledger Vaults, where we offer self-custodianship. So again, you keep your private keys. We just give you the technology to handle them in a safe way, easy way, and with governance on top. But if you need to trust someone with your money, we've also worked on a project called Komainu with Nomura and Global Advisor that we've announced at Let's Consensus back in May, I think. And we're working hard on that project right now to deliver something in the market next year, where it will be the first full custodian ready for institutional money in the market, and that's something where that it will be using Ledger technology, but with a lot of layers on top, and so a hedge fund or a bank or anyone with coins can actually trust Komainu with their money the same way that they trust Coinbase.
And Pascal, growing on that, I mean, one of my ideas, since I wrote this report, is that major traditional players aren't going to partner with a startup to custody their crypto assets, but they will with a major bank. I mean, in all of the crypto ETF reports, Bank of New York Mellon or other major banks are the proposed custodians in most cases. Komainu, your partnership with Nomura and Global Advisor Holdings, that could be a big deal and a game changer here. When do you guys expect to launch this offering, and what exactly will it do differently than what you do now?
So we feel the same. We believe that the combination of the trusts that brings Nomura, the savoir-faire that has Global Advisor, and the technology that has Ledger is a powerful combination to bring a vehicle in the market that doesn't exist today. Will be launched sometimes in 2019. It's too early to give you an exact date of launch, but we are working very hard, and we want to launch this as soon as possible. And sorry, the last part of your question was?
I guess just what will it do differently than what Ledger does now?
Well, then it will be full custodianship, meaning that Komainu will be a custodian where you can trust Komainu with your coins. So your private keys will be with Komainu, and you will act as a financial institution, if you like, versus the Ledger Vault that is self-custodianship, where, again, we only provide technology and you handle yourself your private keys. So in that, Komainu will bring like a complete different offer to the Ledger Vault to the market. And so Komainu will bring an offer that will be competitive to some of the players that exist today that are offering full custodianship. What Komainu is going to do is to act as a regulated entity. So Komainu will be probably the first regulated entity in the market to offer such service. So it's because of that Komainu will differentiate a lot from the offerings that exist in the market today.
Awesome. So Komainu is definitely differentiated in that respect. And just going back to the retail side, I mean, what's the next mile marker for you guys? I mean, how do you get the next million Ledger devices out there? I mean, do you have to lower the price? Do you have to add functionality? Do you have to open up new markets? I mean, how do you drive the next era of growth for Ledger on the retail side?
Okay, look, an easy answer would have been like sort of all of the above. Like we need to do all these things, better marketing, translation, et cetera, so which we're doing. So, but I think there is a fundamental trend right now in the market, especially coming from exchanges where a lot of the big exchanges are thinking of decentralization, and there are new exchanges that come with decentralization. That's one big movement. There are other movements like proof of stake or Lightning, etc. And all these movements goes very well with our technology because we can easily implement those aspects into the Ledger operating system. And just to give you one example, one very precise example, if you run a decentralized exchange, suddenly your only security issue is the endpoint. So it's at the moment of transaction. And so you sort of need like a hardware wallet to secure that endpoint transaction. And so for us, the movement towards decentralization of exchanges, for example, is a big thing for us that we're working really hard on right now. And so I think that, of course, we're going to do better marketing. Of course, we'll do everything that we have to do to promote security and our products. But we believe that also the industry is moving to a situation where you absolutely need to have a hardware wallet to actually make transactions. So we have we're having great discussions right now with a lot of players in this market, and I think that soon we will announce big partnerships.
Got it. And decentralized exchanges playing perfectly with Ledger because both are trustless in nature and everyone controls all parts of their transactions there. How exactly does Ledger play into the DEX space? Would a relayer have a Ledger? Where exactly does Ledger play in there? And I mean, do you guys even have to get involved, or would the decentralized exchanges just use your technology, without you guys even knowing, basically?
Both can be true. I mean, it could be either a technological partnership where we make sure that the two imbricates themselves really well. We also have an open operating system where third parties can develop their own code on top of that. So both can be true.
Awesome, great. And then you guys rolled out Ledger Live a few weeks ago, or possibly a few months ago, and I've been using it every day just as a companion app to view all my balances. What's the goal of Ledger Live? Is it supposed to be for the retail side or institution side or both?
So the institutional side has a Ledger Live as well. So you have Ledger Live that you access through UnanoS, but through the Ledger Vaults, you also access a platform that is Ledger Live, but that has different features, of course. On the different features, you have all the administrative part and the governance part, for example. But these are new sets of interfaces, again, just to make it easier for our users, whether they're professional users or just individual users, to better access their funds and to better use their funds. So it's something that we are doing for the market. But however, we're also making sure that our product stays compatible with various other interfaces. So if you prefer to work on MyEther wallets, it's perfectly compatible with Ledger. So you can access MyEther wallet with your Ledger NanoS, for example.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. We have a few more minutes left. I'm just wondering, how often does Ledger update its software for the hardware devices? And just building on that question, what happens if a user doesn't update their firmware when an update comes out? Is it catastrophic, or could they just update later on?
So look, it's never catastrophic because these devices have been built to bring security regardless. Now, just like any other security device, we strongly recommend that you update them as soon as there is an update, because if we update, it's because you have to upgrade your security. So yeah, I mean, it's just normal governance when it comes to security. When there is an update available, we strongly advise the users do it, and we always very open and transparent in terms of our communication. So everything that you need to know is on our website, on the blog, on our Zendesk. We have a great team to take care of your requests. A great customer success team should you have one. So update your Ledger and NOS and you'll be fine. But if you haven't updated already, it's okay. You can update it tomorrow and you'll still be fine.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And I know you guys aren't an exchange for buying and selling, but Coinbase has always been like a black box on the assets they're going to list or not, and they've tried to add clarity there, but I'm not sure if it's helping. Whereas you guys have a website dedicated to your roadmap on assets you're going to support in the future potentially. How often do you roll out support for new crypto assets, and how's the visibility been received? Because I'm looking at the website now and it's very clear.
Look, it's good. I think the communities in this space are very impatient always. So we're being asked of supporting numerous assets, and we try to be as transparent again as possible with a roadmap that is accessible from our website, and we're trying to make sure that we provide support to those communities that ask for it. But it's going to take time, and some assets are more difficult to support than others because of the nature of the crypto that they use, etc. So sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's a slower process, and we are trying to better organize the company in order to address this in an even more efficient manner. And but it's an ongoing. It's going to be an ongoing thing for Ledger now and in the future. Got it.
And I personally think 2019 is going to be a big year for security tokens. Polymath, Harbor, TokenSoft. Pick your player here. And Ledger supports ERC20 tokens. Do you see having to support security tokens on Ledger being a huge hurdle, or do you think most of them will just be based on ERC20 standards? Or, I'm just wondering if there's a future where institutions are going to store their security tokens on something like Ledger Vault. Yeah, we believe, the way that we see the future is Ledger is the security technology that the industry uses widely to secure their crypto assets, their tokens, and anything that has private keys and that needs security. And so our vision for the future is to be able to support sort of all of the above that you listed. And again, for us, whether it's a new token, a new protocol, ERC20, ERC 721, and the next ERC. This is something that we're working hard on, but this crypto world is not getting any simpler. It's getting more complex, and there are more tokens and more protocols added every day. So again, we're trying to keep a tight roadmap to be as transparent as possible, and to hire the great people in the company to help us do that. And also to hire external talents, in the sense that because our operating system is open, third-party teams can also develop on top of our operating system. And so therefore, there are a lot of coin support that were developed by external teams and not Ledger directly recently. Got it. And Pascal, just because this is a timely topic, Ethereum is going to roll out a hard fork in a few weeks for some updates. How fast is Ledger issue support once these crypto assets change their architecture frameworks, or does any updates in the sense of hard forks ever have to be issued? If there's not a new token issued? Well, we can look at the past. Bitcoin Cash was supported sort of second one after it was launched. So with our technology, it's very easy to segregate coins. And so, to support a new coin can be very quick, especially if it's a fork. That's much easier for us
then it is a complete new coin with a complete new crypto. But I don't have anything specific to say on the Ethereum hard fork that will be published on our website in due time. But for us, it's easy enough, and so usually we do it.
Awesome. Well, Pascal, my last question for you: if everybody in crypto is listening, what would you tell them?
Look, I would tell them that all this is great. It's super early. I think this market is still very nascent, even though there's been an amazing year of 2017. 2018 has been an interesting year, starting very high, then bearish market for most of the year. I think 2019 will be the year of custodianship and many things happening and institutional coming into the game. So 2019 should be exciting, but all this is very early, and I think that we have a good 10 years ahead of us before this becomes completely mainstream. And the moments in crypto right now reminds me of the web of 1995, where everybody knows it's going to be great, but it's not the technology is not completely there yet. So I'm looking forward to see what's going on with Lightning and with proof of stake and with all these new technologies that are coming to market that I think are where we could potentially build a very exciting future. But so very intriguing, and I think we're off to an excellent 2019.
Excellent, Pascal. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and I hope to have you back on again soon for an update.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for everybody for listening, and please add your email on 51pct.io for updates. Thank you.